Hello, astrophysicists, astronomers, planetary scientists, and cosmologists around the world, around the galaxy, and around the multiverse. I am Elena G. Levine. As always, it is my privilege and my honor to be with you here today to talk to you about a really important career topic, and that is how to convert your curriculum vitae or your CV into a winning resume for industry roles. We're going to talk you through all the different components of that. I'm going to give you action items. They are homework assignments that you can take home and literally do today. Then, oh, Diane, I don't know. I think I'm going to give you guys a bonus as well. I wonder what that bonus could be. We'll find out in just a few moments. So today, our conversation, as you know, is being recorded. For those of you who don't know much about me, I am a career development strategist and expert for STEM. My background is math and physics and anthropology. I've been working with the American Astronomical Society for literally a billion years. I think that's actually the exact scientific unit. I am a science writer. I am a professional speaker. I'm a career coach, and I'm also the author of 2 books, Networking for Nerds and Create Your Unicorn Career, which is forthcoming. So this is my jam. This is my area of expertise. And so I am really, really thrilled to be able to spend time with you, to talk with you about how you can actually begin to formulate a plan to pursue positions in industry. As always, you are welcome to quote anything that I say. This QR code has all of my details, all of my information, all of my contact information and socials. You can also find me on all of the socials, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Twitter at Elena G. Levine. If you tweet anything, I ask, just tag us so we can promote you at AAS_office, hashtag your unicorn career. And speaking of bonuses, remember this bonus code, GRB. What does it stand for? Anybody know? Throw it in the chat. If you know what GRB stands for as it relates to astronomy and astrophysics, throw it in the chat right now. You might get just another type of bonus. The GRB is the bonus code, and the bonus code is specifically for, I see Rebecca, Joshua and Rebecca, you got it. Gamma ray burst. Joshua, Rebecca, contact me so I can give you your free bonus, which is a free career consultation with me. So send me an email, elena@elenalevine.com. You already won. Good job. And GRB is going to be the bonus code for you to get something very, very special at the end of this webinar. So you all remember that. So Diane, can you throw that poll in the chat? Can you launch that poll for us? Because I got to start by asking all y'all, hey, astronomers, what does industry value above all else? OMG, I have no idea. I wonder what it could be. Diane, launch that poll. Oh my gosh, put your poll choice in there. Let's vote. Number 1, is it me and my brilliant astronomical abilities? Number 2, is it making money? Number 3, is it collaboration, synergy, and blue sky strategy? Is it I have no idea? Is it a deep comprehension of and an appreciation of the fabric of the universe? What is it? I have no idea. Oh my gosh, what's it going to be? This is so exciting. I'm literally freaking out how happy I am because this is so exciting. And I'm watching the results. I'm going to give it 3 more seconds. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. Diane, let's close that poll and let's throw up the answers. Let me share the results. Oh, you have to put the sharing. I think it's sharing right now. As you can see, 72% of you said making money. And I really appreciate that that's how you've identified. I hope you all can see the poll. If you can't, just throw it in the chat and I'll show it to you. But 72% of you said that industry values making money above all else. And guess what? You are 100% correct. That is absolutely right. And that's what we have to think about if we are going to design a resume that will get us interviews. Now, remember, the resume does not get you the job. It gets you the interview. The interview is what gets you the job. So we have to remember that, because every step that we take in the job getting process, every action we take, every material that we produce, all of these different things are going to make sure that are going to have a specific role in the process of getting us the actual job offer. And the resume, that thing, that piece of material That resume is designed to get you an interview. So it's designed to excite and entice and entrance the reader to want to invite you in for an interview to learn more about who you are and how you would fit in the organization. But if we're even going to get that interview, guess what? We need to make sure that we communicate, that we understand that industry cares about money. Industry values making money. And this may seem radically different from all of you in academia, in research, right? Because we work in science, we want to help elucidate the mysteries of the universe. We want to help people appreciate the fabric of the multiverse. But in industry, it's all about creating products and services that sell to customers so we can get income and, more specifically, profit. Money, money, money. So if we're going to design a resume that's going to get us an interview, we have to make sure that we are communicating, that we understand that main concept. When I work with scientists, and this goes for astronomers and physicists and all sorts of different people in the STEM ecosystem, what I find is that oftentimes when you are applying for a job in industry, you present yourself as somebody who is fleeing or leaving academia. And what we have to do is reframe it. We have to present ourselves not as somebody who is rejecting or leaving academia, but somebody who is strategically pursuing a role in industry and, more specifically, in this company. So if we're going to do this, what we have to do is we're going to engage in 3 components in our resume. And I'm going to walk you through all 3 of these in our conversation today. We're going to be focusing on skills, problem solved, and experiences. And each one of these plays a role in the resume to help the reader understand that your job will be to help this company make money. So let's start with skills. This is just an overview, and I will go into detail in the next few moments. So skills, we have to make sure that we're talking about, yes, the technical skills, yes, the scientific skills, especially if you're going for a scientific role like in R&D or research and development. But we also want to make sure that we are talking about the business skills that we've gained. And make no mistake, you have gained so many business skills from being an astronomer. You have gained business experiences from being an astronomer, the very least of which include communication skills from writing papers, from producing posters, from speaking at conferences and at journal clubs, leadership, including the leadership of your own career and your own project management, and so much more. I'm going to give you a full list in a few moments. We need to make sure that we highlight those skills, because those skills are what help you make money for the company. So we're going to really focus on that. And additionally, the other set of skills that you have, which really differentiate you compared to others in the community, is that you have language skills. You may speak multiple languages, and you have cross-cultural skills. And even if you have not worked or studied in another country from the nation in which you were born, it doesn't matter, because you and I know that astronomy and astrophysics is an international endeavor. You're working on teams with people from all over the world. That is incredibly valuable to a company. And so we want to make sure we highlight that set of skills as well. So that's skills. We also have problems. Industry cares about problems being solved. In fact, the number one reason that you will be hired for any role is to solve problems. So we want to make sure that we are communicating that we have solved problems. However, most astronomers and most scientists, when they are on the job market for industry roles, only talk about their science problems that they've solved, their research problems that they've solved, their academic problems that they solved. This is where that reframing that I mentioned a few moments ago comes in handy, because if they, your competitors, are only talking about their science problems that they solved, they are positioning themselves as somebody who is leaving academia. By talking about the other types of problems that you've solved, including the business problems that you've solved, and communicating it in a very foolproof method, which I'm going to walk you through, which is problem, solution, result with a quantification, That shows the reader, the employer, that you are actually going towards industry for a very specific reason, because the problems that you've solved are aligned with their goals, with their needs. That is power in the job getting process. That's what we want. And then the third component, a key feature of a resume, is experiences. And I find that oftentimes when I look at resumes or CVs from postdocs and graduate students in astronomy and other areas of STEM, in particular in the physical sciences, people often only list out their list of achievements, the record of everything they've done. We're going to talk more about that in a few moments. But they don't really talk about their experiences. An experience is anything that gave you the ability to solve problems while gaining skills. You see the connection between these three components now? So what we want to do is we want to take your projects that you did as a student, as a grad student, as a postdoc. We want to take some of the other experiences that you gained, your outreach experiences, your leadership roles, other things that you've done. And we want to extract the problems you solved and the skills that you gained. We want to highlight those other experiences, the business experiences, the leadership, the outreach, the communications experiences. And we want to demonstrate that we know the language of the industry and the language of the company by translating our experiences, skills, and problem solved into their language. By speaking their language, they begin to see that we will be an asset and we will be able to add value immediately. And that's what we want to be able to demonstrate to them. That's what we wanted to be able to demonstrate. So this is going to be the model that we are going to use today and in the future when we build a resume and resumes for business, for companies, for industry. Now, I want you to know that a resume is a marketing document, as is a CV. A resume has a specific role. It is designed to get you the job in industry, get you the interview. I made that mistake, to get you the interview for the job that you want in industry. It is a marketing document, which means we have to tell the truth of what it is that we can do for the employer. A colleague of mine at Keysight Technologies said this, and I quote it all the time. Marketing is how business gets done. So marketing is how a company is able to be successful and sell products to people or organizations that will pay them for those products so they can generate a profit. Marketing is how you and I build our careers. Marketing is how we keep our job. And certainly if you want an interview and you want to go for a role, you have to market yourself. It is not bragging to tell the truth in an appropriate form and function and fashion and ecosystem. And when you're applying for a role, you have to tell the full truth. But I find that most scientists require me to become Nicolas Cage or some sort of archaeologist. Did you love the movie National Treasure as much as me? Throw National Treasure into the chat if you loved that movie as much as I did. I am obsessed with that movie. I've seen it like 100 times. I've also recently seen the new Disney Plus series on National Treasure as well, which is also amazing about a woman. Yay. Anyway, oftentimes what happens with a resume when you're applying for a role is that because you don't concentrate on those skills, on those experiences, and on those problems that you solved, guess what happens? You require and enforce the reader, the employer, when they're reading your resume, to become an archaeologist, to have to sift through the dirt and the secrets and the clues and the all sorts of stuff to find the treasure that is you. And Arig, you are absolutely right. Now, Nick Cage is in and of itself a national treasure. Marvin, I appreciate your endeavor and appreciation of National Treasure too. Recognize for all of us that if we are going to get the interview, we want to make it incredibly easy and simple for the employer to realize why they should invite us in for an interview. They should not have to become Nick Cage. They should not have to sift through and become an archaeologist to find out what our value is. So by focusing on skills, problem solved, and experiences, you are making it incredibly easy to understand what an international treasure you are for that company. Don't make them do extra work. Okay, So what is a resume? It is a marketing channel. And I do find that most scientists tend to undervalue themselves, therefore undermarket and undersell themselves in the job getting process. And not only that, you also underexplore for the roles that you want. Too often I do career consultations. In fact, I do career consultations for the AAS. Diane, if you could throw that into the chat, you can book time with me and I'd be happy to go through your CV and help you make it into a resume or help you prep for interviews or do whatever. I often will look at CVs and resumes, and I will, for physicists in particular, but astronomers, I see this as well. And the astronomers, the physicists, they only talk about their physics skills. They only talk about their physics experience, their astronomy experience. That is undervaluing. They don't realize that there's so much value. There's so many other skills and problems and experiences around everything that they've done in their life that would be of relevance to a company. We need to extract that from your brain, because you're not going to be bragging. You're just telling the truth. You're telling the tale of your problem-solving abilities. You're showing how there's an alignment between their needs, the employer's needs, and your abilities. You're building a bridge between your past and present and what your future will be at the organization. And most importantly, it's enticing the decision maker to invite you in for that interview. That's what this resume is doing. Now, you may be curious to know the differences between a CV and a resume, so let me walk it through it for you. So a CV, a curriculum vitae, tends to be an exhaustive record of achievements. So it's literally everything you've done. It's every paper, every presentation, every workshop, every volunteer role you were in, every single amount of time that you won on a telescope. Every project that you were involved in, literally every single thing. There's no page limit in general. It's for academic roles. It's for postdoc positions. It's for professorship positions. It's also for certain research and development positions in industry, with a caveat. In fact, when you go for R&D positions in industry, you may be actually engaging in doing a hybrid where you're listing some of your papers, but using some of the features of resumes that we're going to be talking about today. You're still going to have, in general, the PSR, which stands for Problem Solution Result. I will walk you through that method in a few moments. You're still going to list out your STEM skills and your business skills, because business skills are relevant to literally every role, including your postdoc position. And you're going to incorporate both experience and skills from STEM roles and from non-STEM roles. But the resume really is a focus on skills and solutions. It's generally for non-academic and non-research roles. There's a page limit depending on the role. Oftentimes they'll say, 1 page max, 2 page max. Generally, what you want to use is 1 page per approximately 10 years of experience in general. Rules are made to be broken. And I always tell people, show your resume to no more than 3 people, N equals 3, because when N is greater than 3, everybody starts contradicting each other. So I find that with 3 people, you actually get valuable insight that can help you. In a resume, we're using the STEM skills, the tech skills, the business skills, computing, and languages. But what we are going to be doing is a lot of summarization. So we're not going to list all the papers. We're not going to list all the presentations, all the time on telescopes. We're going to have a summary, and I'm going to walk you through how to do that in a moment. So some general design tips. And by the way, you are welcome to throw questions into the chat. If you have an idea, if you have something you want me to, some burning idea that you want me to reference, you let me know. Throw it in the chat. I'm here for you. So some general design tips. And actually, before I tell you about the design tips, let me just make a clarification about the language that I'm using, the word CV versus resume, because those 2 words often mean different things around the world. And after all, we're talking about a global endeavor of astronomy, physics, and pursuing careers across the globe. When I refer to a resume today, I am talking about this type of document. It's short, it's concise, it's focusing on the skills, the problems, and experiences, versus a curriculum vitae, which is the exhaustive list. I recognize that in many nations, the word CV is actually used to refer to what today we are calling a resume. So for our purposes today, what I want to just say is a resume is the document that you produce for industry. It is short, it is concise, it is summarizing, and it has those key features that we talked about. The other thing I want to clarify for you, and I'm going to show you an example of a resume in a few moments, is the actual design. We are seeing more and more two-column resumes that have two columns or have a short column on the left or the right with the meat, or for those of us who are vegetarians, the tofu of the resume in the main compartment or part of the resume. Honestly, it doesn't matter which one you use. If you use a two-column, or I always prefer a linear one just because I think it looks easier, it's less cluttery for the reader. Honestly, it doesn't matter. As long as, number one, the AI, so the bot that is first going to be looking at your resume, can actually discern the details. Two, a human reader doesn't find it too cluttery. Three, it's actually like you can actually extract. If I'm a reader, if I'm a human reader, when I read it, I can actually extract information that will enable me to understand that you are going to be a good asset, and I want to explore that further with that interview. So it really doesn't matter. But some industries and some companies, you'll notice, do appreciate a more vibrant approach, the creative approach, more colorful approach. Just want to be careful about that. That doesn't distract or detract from you. You are the star. Your background and the words are actually more important than the design. That's an important thing to remember. But if the design supplements, complements, or amplifies your brand, which is your promise of value, your expertise, then that can be an asset. So you just want to weigh that and be careful of it. So as I mentioned, the resume is going to be pithy. It's going to be short and concise. Page length is going to depend on years of experience, the role itself, the industry, and also what the organization specifically wants. I always tell people to only submit a PDF, because then you have ownership. The way it looks is locked, and you have ownership of the way it looks. You're going to watch your formatting. So if you go to another page, let's say you have one page and you go to a second page, the second page or the last page should have no less than a third of the page with text in it. In other words, if when you write your resume, you end up with a second page, a last page that has two sentences on it, that looks weird, that is awkward, and it doesn't actually look right. So we're going to adjust it so that those two sentences are back up on the first page, and now the document is only one page. But if you have more than a third of the page filled with text for the last page, then you can have an additional page. I hope that makes sense. We're also going to use searchable keywords, and I'm going to walk you through how to do that. We're going to watch acronyms. So when you first mention your university, so I went to the University of Arizona, so I will write under my education, the University of Arizona, and then in parentheses, I will put UA or U Arizona, which either of those are acceptable acronyms for my alma mater. So you can introduce an acronym as long as you put it in parentheses and spell it out first. And the same thing with jargon. You want to just be careful of that, especially as you shift from very, very astronomy heavy roles and very, 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 very detailed roles like your sub field. Nobody outside of astronomy knows what GRB means. They just don't. So we don't want to necessarily be going into detail about what gamma ray bursts do and what they are, because that's not relevant for a role at a tech company. They don't care about GRBs. What they care is how you solving problems that enable you to get skills that will enable you to be successful in this role. So skills that you use to solve problems in GRBs, including your computational skills, your communications, your leadership, your project management, as well as your scientific research skills, how that will help you in this role. What problems you solve that are similar or mirror the job advertisement problems, for example, data analysis or mentoring skills, and what experiences are relevant for the role that you want. That's what they care about. So you don't have to go into detail about what you did in GRB research, because they don't understand it, nor do they care. What they care is how you're going to help them make money. And that's where the skills, experience, and problems come in handy. You don't need fancy logos or colored paper or crazy colors. You don't need cartoons. You also don't need your photograph for roles in the United States. I'm going to talk more about that in a moment. What you do need is your name and your page number and the total number of pages on every page, just in case they decide to print it out. Remember printing it out, old technology? Even if they decide to print it out for some reason, we want to actually have that handy for them. And guess what? The title is your name, not a resume, because if it's in front of me, I know it's a resume. You don't have to waste the space and letting me know that. So we're going to put our best stuff at the top, and the best stuff is going to be a headline, which I'll walk you through, and your skills. We're going to talk about what makes us better than the competition. Our value is a description of who you are and your special skills. You're going to use their language. You're going to customize it and change it for every single job that you apply for, and you're going to quantify your successes. So those are the key things, and I will now walk you through all of those. But let's look at what the different sections of a resume look like. As always, if you have any questions, throw it in the chat. I'm here for you. So the different sections of a resume, first and foremost, we do not need an objective. Why don't we need an objective? Because I, as the reader, and remember this is a really important thing about pursuing career opportunities. As a job seeker, in general, I, as the employer, don't care that much, asterisk, about what you want from this role. I care a little bit, because if I know that you are interested in growing your career, and that's a great phrase, interested in, advancing our goals, which is another great phrase, interested and seeing an alignment between your experience and career goals and my needs and wants, that's another great type of phrase. That is useful for me to see. But you can talk about that in the cover letter. You can talk about that later in the interview. But on the top of the resume, what I need to know is what you are going to do for me, not what you want from me, because the job search process is not what you can get from me. It's what you can give me. So we're not going to use an objective. I am looking for a job where I can grow my career and build my skills. No. Tell me what you're going to do for me. So instead, we're going to use what I call a headline. So let me show you what that headline looks like. So a headline, as you can see on this slide, and guess what the bonus is? Can you guess what the bonus is that I'm going to give you? Oh, I don't know. Maybe. It starts with a T and it rhymes with emplate. What could that possibly be? I don't know. You'll have to figure it out. Anyway, this headline at the top, and I want to describe it for you, it is keywords, high-level phrases or words that describe your high-level problem-solving abilities and high-level skills. So on this resume template that begins with a T, my headline is strategic planning, career consulting, team building, and organizational management. This was a version of a resume that I used for myself quite a few years ago. So when you look at this resume, you immediately see strategic planning and you start to think, Elena can do strategic planning. You see career consulting. Elena is going to help us with career consulting. You see where I'm going with this? The headline announces to the reader what it is that you can do for them. It is powerful stuff. And too often, this goes back to the national treasure analogy. Too often you make it hard for the reader if they don't know what it is that you can do, particularly right up at the top where that's the most important real estate in a resume. They are not going to continue reading. You are trying to entice them to read more. This is a key aspect of building a successful resume. You have to have a top headline. The next component of a successful resume is what I will refer to as a brand statement, which means your promise of value statement, what it is that you will do for the client. In this case, you're the employer, and an executive summary. We do not have to use those words. In this template that begins with a T, I write my executive summary. I say award-winning organizational management and career consultant with experience in successful relationship building with customers, employees, business partners, economic development agencies, media and governmental and industrial organizations. Creative, diplomatic, results-driven leader and professional speaker with talents in strategic and project planning, management, branding, marketing, and customer relations. named Tucson Leader of the Year and Rising Star Entrepreneur of the Year. So that describes me as what it is I'm going to do. It summarizes my experience. You could quantify it over 5 years solving technological problems relating to X and Y, have led 5 projects totaling $100,000, have mentored 5 students. You can give them an overview with a quantification. It's a summary of your qualifications. It is a key aspect of the most important real estate in a resume. The next section is your skills. And what you want to do is you want to have subsections. You want to have your technical and scientific skills, but you really want to highlight your business skills. And I'm going to walk you through an exercise in just a few moments about how to figure that out. You want to include your computing skills, of course, and your languages. So any languages that you speak. Then you're going to include your education, depending on where you are in your career, including certificates. You're now going to have a section called experience. Now, oftentimes when I see CVs from people that are trying to get jobs in industry, they present to me a CV that they would use for a job in industry, or they present to me a resume and they don't list out their experiences. We often see in CVs for academic and research roles a section called appointments, where it lists out every job that you've had, just the name of the job, postdoctoral associate, comma, Department of X, comma, University of Y, dates. Graduate student researcher, Department of X, Department of University of Y, dates. Travel fellow, summer research fellow. That is not what we need in a resume. Your roles are important. Those are your experiences. But just to list out the role tells me as the reader absolutely nothing about what you did. So we don't need a section called appointments anymore on a resume where we would have them on a CV. Instead, what we are going to have is a section called experience, where you're going to take each of your different roles that you had. And those could be your RA-ship, your TA-ship. It can be leadership roles that you had in student and postdoc clubs or community clubs. It could be volunteer roles. It could be things that you did for a summer project or a summer job that has nothing to do with science. We're going to write them down in an experience section. If you want to create subsections, particularly if this is more of a science problem solving position, you could have science experience or research experience and business experience or leadership and communications experience. But we need the experience section. And then I'm going to walk you through how to actually design this. You could have a separate section called leadership experience. You could also have a separate section, and you should, on awards and honors, and then you could have a section called which I refer to as your specialties. So those are your papers and your publications, but we're going to summarize that, and I'm going to walk you through that in a moment. So one of the things that's very important on a resume, which I often don't see on CVs for academic roles, is action. So instead of just saying what your responsibilities were, that's one of my red flags on a resume. You can't just write responsibilities include A, B, and C. That tells me nothing about what you actually did. So instead, we're going to talk about the problems we solved, and we're going to do so using action verbs. And you can Google action verbs for resumes, and you'll get verbs such as developed, create, design, destroyed, grow, author, manage, lead, implement, orchestrated, architected, all these different action verbs. Every bullet point under each of your experiences is going to start with an action verb. That is such an important thing that you can do. We're going to omit, for US-based jobs, anything about your marital status, your age, your picture. I recognize that in many nations around the world, particularly nations in Europe, and I also see this for roles in India, there is a picture. There is often a marital status. Sometimes there's a citizenship. You do not do that for US-based roles. You never mention your children either. You don't put your social security number. We don't need an objective or a life philosophy. If your GPA for any of your degrees was less than 3.5, don't list it. You're not going to use the word I, me, or my on your resume. Everything is a fragmented sentence starting with that action verb in the third person. Designed this, created that. You do not have to include your references on the resume. That's a separate component that when they ask for it, you can give it. You don't include your salary information or why you left your previous role. That's none of their business. So in the template that you see here, I want to just walk you through. Under that section I told you, I just read to you, that was your executive summary. We have what I call here qualifications. In fact, I write qualifications include. And by the way, I'm verbalizing this for any people who have visual challenges. I want you to be able to gain value from this webinar. So in the next section are actually my skills. Now you could have the section could actually be called skills with those subheadings, or you could call them qualifications. In my case, I listed them as qualifications. It doesn't matter. And what I listed were things like public speaking, training, and speech writing, outstanding written and oral communications, team building and leadership, public relations, large-scale event design and execution, sales and fundraising, conflict resolution, research and analysis. Now, this set of skills that I listed on this template that begins with a T, this was specific for a particular role. Because I'm going to customize this for every single role that I have, the order I use, the way I present it, the different specific skills that I actually put on this document are all going to change. Even the way I describe them are going to change. So that's very important for you to reference. And remember, I also list out my computing skills, which can include software packages, computing languages and packages, and platforms, of course, and any languages. So if I speak Chinese and I have native level fluency, it doesn't necessarily mean that I was born in China. It means that my level of fluency is like I was born in China. Similarly, I can describe it as native fluency, near native fluency, advanced, proficient, and beginning. So you can qualify your language abilities. You're going to list out your education. And by the way, the farther in the future you get from your actual last degree, the lower your education is going to get on your resume. So right now, for example, on my resume, because I am 17 billion years old, my resume has my education at the bottom of my resume because it's not relevant. What's more relevant is all the experience I've had over the 17 billion years of my career. Or 16.5, I should say. But on my education section, I'm going to list out the name of the university, the degree name. I'm going to list out what subject I got it in. So it's a PhD in astrophysics. If there was a certificate or a minor in a subject, I'm going to list that out. I can list out the dissertation title, but honestly, for roles not in academia, let's say you did your PhD dissertation on GRBs. Well, again, a company like Microsoft, if you're going for Microsoft, the hiring manager and the decision maker may not know what the significance of your dissertation in GRBs was. So you don't necessarily have to write out the title. Instead, you could write out what you gained from it. You know, the experience, what it actually led to, what types of problems you solved. So the significance of it as it relates to the company of the role that you're going for. So another piece, component of the resume is the experience, as I mentioned. So I am going to hold off on showing you this experience section in the resume template for a moment, and I want to walk you through some tasks that you can do to make sure that your resume gets you a job interview for the role that you want. So here are our action items, and these are the things that you can literally do today. But before I go on, I see Hendrik has a great question. Should one call a skill a qualification only if one has had formal training for this activity, such as a certificate? Great question, Henrik. I don't think it matters. It may matter. Let me qualify that actually. It could matter depending on what nation you are in. The word qualification versus skill may mean something different in a particular nation. Generally, for company roles, qualification or skill tend to be a similar meaning, so you could swap out either one. However, for corporate roles, I think it makes it crystal clear if you just use the word skill. So if you say skills include or skills, and then just list it out, you could do that. This is a great question for one of my tips, which is to activate your network and ask people in your network how they describe things whether they would use the word skill or qualification. These questions, asking people in your network who have company roles, will enable your success in this process of getting a job in a company. So really leveraging the power of your network to get inside information and do some due diligence and research to find out how a company actually refers to different sections of your resume, different skills, different problems you've solved, will make it even better of an opportunity for you. You will be getting the competitive advantage. So thank you, Henrik, so much. And another question from Jonathan, similar to the skills qualification question, should we indicate our level of proficiency? It's not necessary. The way I would think about, and thank you for that great question, Jonathan. I think the way I would think about it is if you have advanced level, in Python, for example, you could say that, absolutely. A lot of building a resume is making sure that the resume reflects your own comfort level. Because I can give you all these different ideas. I could say call it qualifications or skills. You don't have to list you don't have to list the proficiency. You don't have to do X. You don't have to do Y. You should do A. But this document ultimately is your document. It's representing you and who you are on the job market, not representing me. So you are the one who makes the final decision as to whether or not it is truly reflecting who you are. In other words, you have to adhere to your own comfort level. Is this truly telling the true story of who I am? Do I feel and do I think that this might be giving a misunderstanding about who I am and my level? If I think there's a possibility and it is causing me discomfort, then I could potentially add my proficiency level. But I do find, I've noticed recently, actually, I've seen resumes where it's a one-page resume and the author of the resume spends so much room describing the level of proficiency, in particular in graphic format, like they included a line that, for example, with language proficiency, instead of simply just saying advanced or native, they included an entire line that was filled up that was designed to demonstrate their level of fluency in the language. And it took an extra line of space on the resume, reducing the amount of space that could be used to actually share other skills and other experience and other problems that the person had solved. And as a result, it actually distracted and didn't tell the true full story of who this person was as a value added to the company. If listing out the proficiency is going to be done in sacrifice of more data that is relevant for this audience member, for this reader, to know why they should call you in for an interview, don't list it. But if you think, and from having talked to people in your network, that it's useful to list the proficiency, you could do so. A lot of resume writing and a lot of job pursuing and a lot of career development is all about balancing costs and benefits. Everything you do has a benefit and everything you do has a cost. And being able to recognize which is worth more in this moment. Am I going to get more benefits, or is it going to cost me more than I will gain from the benefit? And that's how you figure it out. So thank you very much for that great question, Jonathan. All right, so let's convert the CV into the resume. Conversion action number one, we need to identify your business skills. So remember, if you're going to demonstrate and reframe yourself, not as somebody who is coming or rejecting or fleeing academia, but rather as somebody who is specifically targeting companies, because that's where you see an alignment of your skills, you need to tell them about your business skills. So here is a list of just some of the business skills that I guarantee you have gained from being in astronomy, where no matter where you are in your level of astronomy, even as an undergraduate, you've gained some of these. And these include project management, collaboration, team building and leadership, communications, including written and oral communications, accounting and finance and budgeting, human resources, training, mentoring, procurement and vendor relations, and risk management, quality control and assessment, safety protocols. Remember, being in the lab, being in the research group. What about being at the telescope at night? Think about all the safety you had to adhere to or write or be able to teach or train that safety. Sales and marketing. When you write a grant proposal, you're writing a marketing document. When you convince somebody to give you 50,000 euros or 50 million yen, you are convincing them to invest in your project. That's a marketing action. That's a sales action. Maybe you've even worked with journalists. That's public relations and media relations, social media, event management. You produced a workshop. You were on the colloquium committee. Customer relations, engaging with people who are investing resources in you, grant writing, standard operating procedures to ensure that the lab and the research group is running efficiently and effectively, and then, of course, program evaluation and assessment. So these are just a few of the many business skills that you have gained or could have gained. So what we want to do to identify your specific business skills is, number one, we need to pick an experience you've had, maybe a research project or a TA-ship or a student club, a student job that had nothing to do with science, a community or an outreach or a volunteer role. Maybe you did something in your family business. And what you want to do is you want to look and see, what problems did you solve? What problems did you solve? And I'm going to give you a hint as to how to figure that out in a moment. And then we're going to look at that list of business skills that I just gave you, and we're going to use that list as a prompt. It's going to give us a trigger. Because if I can identify, if I look at the different experience that I had, I think about the problems I solved. Wait a second, I solved a problem. We had to figure out how to safely bring undergrads and the public into this observatory at night for an outreach event. I had to write safety protocols. I had to write a communication strategy. I had to communicate it. Then I had to train people on it. What did I do in my research project that related to business skills? If you were doing a project relating to cosmology, astrophysics, GRBs, whatever it was, you had project management experience, absolutely. And you absolutely had communications experience, both taking in communications and using communications methods to articulate information to somebody who cared, including your PI, your advisor, your team, whoever it is. You probably had some social media or public relations or media relations experience. You definitely had mentorship and training experience. So these are just some of the business skills that you can extract from the experience that you had. Make a list of all these business skills and use a list of skills that I just gave you as your prompt to figure out what business skills you have. So that's action number one. Action number two is identifying the problems. And actually, I should have reversed it, because the problems, once you identify the problems, you can identify the skills. So what is a problem that we solve? Well, the way you think about it is your project or the role that you have right now, being a postdoc, a grad student, wherever you are in your career, you have a macro problem that you're trying to solve over the weeks, the months, the years that you're in this role. Your day-to-day accomplishments that enable you to solve for the macro problem are what I call micro problems. Those are your accomplishments. That is what's going to be in your bullet points under each of your experiences. But you're not going to just list accomplishments include, you're actually going to translate the accomplishments into PSR. What was the micro problem you were presented with? What was the solution you came up with? And what was the result of the solution with a quantification, which I'm going to give you more information about in a moment. These problem, solution, result, PSR, is taking your accomplishments and converting them into problems. And this helps the reader understand how you would help them solve problems, because you're literally telling them, these were the problems I solved. And because you're using their language, they're seeing that you would be able to solve those problems for them, which would add value for them. This is going to be aligned with your skills. And you should be considering both business problems that you solved and science and technical problems that you solved. PSR, super, super simple and easy. Conversion action 2A is the quantification of the results. Industry loves numbers. Okay? And so if we can talk about the quantification of what we did, that is going to make a huge difference in getting us the job interview. Because not only does it make it clear what your success was and what that meant the success, not only does it demonstrate that you are thinking about quantification, which is power in industry, but it also makes it super easy for them to understand the context and significance of your problem-solving abilities. If you're able to say that we increase the efficiency of the team by X%, or we reduce costs by Y%, or we brought in $20 million or 100,000 euros, or we produced 2 projects in less than 2 months, or we led and trained a team of 10 people, or we wrote 10 papers in 1 year, or 100,000 lines of codes, or we won 2 Nobel Prizes, OMG, this is power. This is power for you, and it's clarity for them as to why they should bring you in. Don't make it hard for them to understand your problem-solving abilities. Quantify as much as you possibly can with an understanding that A, sometimes solutions and results cannot be quantified truly, and B, sometimes results are not able to be legally or ethically shared. There might be things that you cannot share from a numerical perspective. Do not violate the confidentiality of your current team or employer, and don't violate the law. And also watch your ethics as well. That's all 3 are very important. Conversion action number 3 is identifying the experiences that would be relevant for the company. We want to think beyond the science and beyond the research. Yes, you want to list your scientific experiences and extract from that business problems that you solved and business skills that you gained. But there are other experiences that you've had, solving problems using skills. And remember, that's what an experience is. It's anything that gave you problem-solving abilities where you use skills to solve a problem. I have looked at physicists' resumes and CVs and asked them about their experience, and they're going for roles in industry, and they only talk about their science experiences. They don't talk about the leadership roles they had or unique sports. I was looking at a resume, a CV for a physicist. She did this, and I was really happy for her. She's a physicist who serves on a sailing team. She doesn't get paid for this. This is her fun. This is her sport. She does it competitively, if I recall. And I thought to myself, oh my God, she's got safety, she's got communication, she's got leadership, she's got team building, she's got risk management, she's got protocols, she's got all sorts of different skills, business skills, which are incredibly invaluable. We need to make sure we clarify that and actually call it an experience. I challenge you to think about all the different experiences you've had, science and business and volunteer, study and work abroad, outreach experiences. Maybe you were in the government for the postdoc association or the student government. Maybe it's a hobby or a sport, and identify those experiences and then think about what problems you solved, what skills you gained from that. Would this be relevant for industry? Conversion action number 4 is to summarize. That was what I was talking about when I was sharing the headline and the executive summary. That headline, again, is the high-level skills and problems that you'll solve. The executive summary is the overview, if at all possible, the quantification, the unique value that you will provide. A summary of specialty outputs is also useful. So you don't have to list every single paper, every single presentation you've given. You can just write publications. Over 10 publications on topics relating to data analysis, database design, and X in publications such as, in tier 1, peer-reviewed, high-level publications such as Astrophysical Journal, Astronomy and Astrophysics X and Y and Z. Same thing with presentations. Over 10 presentations at conferences, including the American Astronomical Society, and for invited talks at universities such as X and B on topics relating to A and B. You do not have to list everyone. You can include a link to your full list if you want to. So that's an important thing. And then the 5th conversion action is to translate into their language. We need to read their website, annual report, social media, and their media to see how they describe themselves, and then use that as the language that we will talk about ourselves in. We need to network and ask people in companies, how would you refer to X? And then use that language. We need to study job announcements, not only this job announcement, but others in this company and related companies, to know what language we should use. And we should notice that specific vocabulary. And when you use that language, you will freaking rock. You will freaking rock. Now, speaking of freaking rock, you freaking rock. And I want to give you that bonus that I mentioned to you. If you go to this QR code or talk.ac/Elena G. Levine, Again, that's talk.ac/ALAINAGLEVINE, and you enter the code GRB, and you do it right now. I'm going to give you just a couple of moments. If you go through, it's a very quick survey. I want your feedback. It's an emoji-based survey, so literally 30 seconds. I am going to give you a free resume template. That was the surprise, right? Did you figure it out? Template with a T, template. I'm going to give you a free resume template, and you'll be able to get that literally right now. And then if you do this right now, I'm going to come back in just a moment, and I'm going to give you some final hot tips to really make sure your resume gets read by decision makers and is converted into a job offer. So just take a few moments, go to this QR code. Again, it's talk.ac/AlenaGLevine. Bonus code is GRB, and you will get that resume template. So I'm just going to give you a couple of moments. And of course, while we're waiting, if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat. And as always, I am available, Elena@ElenaLevine.com. Diane, if you don't mind, just one more time throwing the career consultation link in the chat for people. And now I want to give you the final thoughts. Hot tips. A lot of people don't realize to do this. The job advertisement is the exact outline of what your resume should include. So your resume should mirror the job advertisement language, the job advertisement skills, experience as much as possible, only and always telling the truth. You never lie, you never embellish, you just tell the truth. If they ask for project management experience, talk about your project management experience. If they ask about your experience in data analysis and database design, talk about that and use that word, use that vocabulary. Engage with your network now. Talk to people now who work in companies so that you can get insight into how to do this better and how to really translate this document into something that they will actually respond to. Build templates now for different roles. So maybe you're going to go for a data science role, build the template now. Maybe you're going to go for a management role, build the template now. Maybe you're going to go for a science outreach and communications role. Build that template now. Keep track of your successes now, your experiences, your roles, your problem solved, your skills, so that you can then pepper it into your customized templates. Business skills are useful for any role, so you want to keep track of that. And always, always, always leverage your uniqueness. These are the ways that you will get an interview in industry. And most people do not know to do this. So when you do it, you're giving yourself that huge competitive advantage. So as always, I don't need to wish you good luck. I'm just going to say, now go get that interview. And if I can help you in the future, you let me know. This QR code has all of my details, but if you need it, I'm on Instagram @ElenaGLevine. I'm on LinkedIn. Connect with me @ElenaGLevine. I'm on Twitter @ElenaGLevine. Elena@ElenaLevine.com. You email me if you have a question. I'm here for you. And as an AAS member, you have a benefit, which is you can book time with me for a career consultation. And Diane just threw that into the chat. If I can help you with anything in the future, you let me know, astronomers. But you rock, you rule the multiverse. So I say, enjoy your amazing adventure towards your unicorn career in industry. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Elena. And you have a great afternoon. I love your last slide. It's awesome. Take care, everyone.